Welcome to Kirsty TV. Today I'm here with a courageous woman who is here to share her very personal story of child abuse. At just 15, she was gang raped, and then at 16, she began to endure daily sexual abuse at the hands of a trusted family member on her way to school. This set her on a course of self-destruction for many years, but I'm happy to say that she's now happily married with a beautiful husband and 2 children, and she's here to use her voice to make a difference and help others. Thank you so much for being here today, Haneef.
Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure. So, does it seem surreal now, after all of these years, to look back and think of everything you went through?
No, it's very real.
Is it as if it happened yesterday?
Sometimes it does, but it's working through it daily, so that doesn't define who I am as the woman I am today.
Well, that's an amazing place to get to, and I think that's where a lot of people who've been through this strive to get to, because they struggle for so many years. If we go back to who you were as a 14-year-old before this gang rape occurred, who would we have seen?
Well, before the rape, I was such a vibrant young girl with many dreams. I was fascinated with dancing, so I was in dance school, modeling, singing, just full of life until that happened. It robbed me of who I believe I was supposed to be at that age.
Yes.
Because, of course, when something like that happens to you, you second guess who you are. You don't know, someone takes you're taught as a young girl, your virginity is to be saved until you're married. When someone takes that from you, your mind goes, you don't understand why, especially when it's someone you know. Someone you trust, someone that you believe is supposed to be there to protect you. And they're not. They're there to hurt you. It's kind of hard as a young kid to put those two things together, to realize this is actually your reality. This is actually really happening.
Well, I think it rocks your world, like the perception of the world, your trust in humanity as well, not just your own personal.
Especially with men.
Yeah.
Especially with men. That's what I saw later, that I trust no man. Like, literally. Even if the man's was genuine, even if it was a genuine friend, I always felt that they had other intentions.
So it changed your view of men entirely.
And I didn't care who you were. Even as a young girl, if you were a friend of mine, I always thought that you had other intentions.
So take me to the day that this occurred. You're 15 years old.
I was 15 and I was sent to be with... Let me go back. My mom got remarried to a very abusive husband. So I am the only child that has a different father from everybody else. And my father, my real father, actually raped my mother. So that's how I became. So just so I can kind of set up the scene. So I believe that was written on my forehead, I kind of say like he knew he can single me out. Because the other children's father was present. So he couldn't go and hit on them and do anything there. Their father was present, came to visit, was a good father. But he was very abusive to me and my mother. I think he tried to be abusive to my little sister, but I was always there to help with that. That wasn't going to happen. That was my thing. Like, not my sisters and brothers. That wouldn't happen to. So the stress of all that, I was sent with my godparents. I went to Oregon for a while. And that was a mistake. That wasn't a good decision. And that's where the rape happened there. I believe the area where my godparents lived, it was happening a lot. They were actually killing young girls, taking girls, raping them, killing them. And I don't think my mother knew that before she sent me.
Yeah.
I don't even think my godparents knew that area.
And was this a group of young men? Were they your age or older men?
I was actually taken from where I was supposed to be, walking home with a group of friends. So they were supposedly... from the reports, they were gang members. They came from somewhere else, came up to Oregon, and they were doing this in this community. So, yes, I was very young when that happened. And I was a virgin, too, as well.
Yeah, which, I mean, as you say, it shatters your whole world. It's something that you save and you think is special. And at that age, you would have started to hear about sex and sexuality and I'm sure been thinking of it. And so that would have just... robbed you of seeing it in a beautiful way.
I was such a tomboy, and sex wasn't even on my mind. Really, I know that the world today is very
Yeah.
set, but it wasn't for me.
I was the same. People talk about, I didn't even know what it was till about maybe 16, 17.
My first kiss, I was 17 when I finally kissed a boy that I wanted to kiss
Yes.
a boy.
Hmm.
So, no, sex just wasn't I
You're
just
a
wasn't,
teenager.
yeah, I was just a regular kid, regular kid. My mom we didn't do a lot of TV
Hmm.
things. So we read a lot and we played outside and, I didn't do all that. So for that alone happening to me was very violent and very, just, it was like I was in another place.
Yeah, it would have put you into a very adult world before you were ready.
And I wasn't ready. My mom wasn't the type of woman. I didn't see her with different boyfriends. I
Yeah.
didn't come from that life.
Yeah.
Um, so I didn't know what that was,
And so
And it got worse.
you,
So I come, I come from Oregon. I come home, and she's still married to this crazy man. And it was his brother, who was my step uncle, who took an interest in me, but not the kind of interest that uncle should take in a niece. And he would convince my mom that he was taking me to school, which he was after he was having sex with me, and dropping me off at school.
so you've been raped by this gang rape.
Yes.
And then you get home, and so you've hidden this from everyone.
Oh yeah,
You
this part,
haven't shared it.
no one. I told you I had to share with my mother before I can share this with you. The uncle part.
Mm-hmm.
Now they knew about the rape
Yeah.
because the police helped me get back home.
Uh-huh.
It was very
So
traumatic for me.
you did go to the police when it happened.
Oh yes.
Okay, and then you get home, and then the sexual abuse continues with this uncle on a daily basis.
And it didn't start right away. It started maybe 6 months after I got home,
Mm-hmm.
and I just always felt like, is there a sign on my head that says go ahead and abuse Haneef?
Yeah.
Go ahead and abuse me.
After everything you've been through. So when the gang rape, how many men were there involved in that?
3.
3. And can you share with us what was going on that day?
Well, actually, I was walking home trying to get to my. I always believe it was one of the kids. I can't prove it because I was taken from one place to another. But I just remember the voice. And that's how I was able to identify the person, because that voice was one of the kids that lived in the apartment. One of the teenagers, excuse me, so I was a kid, but he was at least 19.
Okay.
And that voice, I kept saying, I know that voice. And that's what helped me.
Were you able to see their faces? So
No,
they had
kept
covered.
mine covered.
They kept yours covered. So they pretty much kidnapped you.
Pretty
They
much.
grabbed you into a car.
Took me to another place. They were getting
Blindfolded
drunk. They were drinking, probably getting high too, and that's how I got away. And because I was new to the area, the only place that I remember was a new girlfriend that I met, her and her family.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that way, so I was close to their house, and they called my godparents to come get me, and that's how the police got involved, and that's how.
And so were you tied up? How many hours were you there?
Couldn't tell you the hours, but I know I
Did you
leave
blank
until.
out?
Oh yeah.
So you
I
passed out.
Passed out just from getting beat up.
So they were beating you as well.
Because of course I was fighting. You were just gonna.
Well,
listen,
especially now I know you.
Yeah. Well, I was fighting. They weren't gonna take it.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't gonna give it willingly.
So you were fighting the whole time.
Yeah, until I couldn't fight anymore. I mean, I'm only a 14, close to 15-year-old kid.
Yeah, and you're tiny now, so I can't even imagine how small.
But I was good with these. My fist is what I'm showing.
Yeah.
I really was. But no woman and no young girl is a match for any man.
No.
And that is one message that I want to always tell a woman. Yes, if you're you should fight for your life. I wasn't going to just let it happen, but also be smart, and your survival is what's important. Mm-hmm. And you're no match for some. We're just not.
Yes.
And that's what
Especially
saved me when I stopped fighting.
3 big men.
Yeah, but that's when I stopped fighting.
What do you think saved you? What do you mean by it saved you to stop fighting? Did you feel if you continued
stop physically
to fight?
Oh, I was going to die that night. Absolutely.
So they would have killed you if you hadn't have stopped.
Yeah, and let them finish. I took my mind to a different place. Mm-hmm. So you can just finish doing whatever you're going to do. I think at that point, what was I going to do?
Yeah.
At that point, my mind was, I'm going to get out of here. And that's exactly what I did.
And you shared with me that, obviously you're now married, but occasionally things will happen, certain ways that your husband will kiss you or come up
Yeah.
behind you that remind you
So,
of
you know
that.
how most women are in the kitchen cooking
Mm-hmm.
a good meal, your man comes behind you and kisses you behind your neck. Well, for me, it always creeped me out.
Mm-hmm.
Not even with my husband. If I cannot stand a man to do that, but I never understood why. Where did that come from? But so this one particular time, maybe a year before I got pregnant with our first son, I was in the kitchen cooking dinner for my husband. He came home from work and he kissed me behind my neck, and I just cringed. And I said, I don't like you doing that. But now I know why I don't like you doing that. It just was a moment of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because the uncle used to do that, to kiss me behind my neck like if I was his girlfriend before he took advantage of me.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why I didn't like it. And my poor husband was just trying to always show me his affection. And I'm telling you, I used to bite his head off. I just, I just couldn't stand it.
Well, I mean, I can't even imagine after being through such a violent rape and then to be raped on a daily basis. I think this is the thing for our listeners and for other women out there and men, because a lot of people suffer through abuse, to understand that it can, you can think you've wiped it under the carpet and gotten
But it
over
will
it.
come up.
Yeah.
And I talk about it now because I want women to know that it's okay to get help.
Mm-hmm.
It resurfaced for me. I think I told you this. When I started going back to college, I think in 2009, matter of fact, 2009 exactly, everything hit me at once. And so I went to see the school psychologist. And she says, I don't know how you handled it this long. I was very resilient because I had to be.
Yeah.
But now that I was okay and, in a loving relationship, everything crashed. And so I had to deal with that.
To start.
And I had to own some things. And I know this is going to be hard for people to hear, but listen to your voice is why I'm telling this story is I didn't own, I'm owning up to the fact that I played a part in both rapes. And what I mean by that is my gut told me not to walk a certain way with certain friends that night. And had I did what my gut told me, I wouldn't even, the rape would have never happened. Same thing with the uncle. Everything in me told me not to get in that car to go. And I could have voiced that to my mom.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, I did the opposite anyway. It was my best friend's mother, Valerie, who I opened up to and who I ended up going to stay for a while until she knew something was wrong with me. And she kept me there. And that was my sanctity place there. Because how do you tell your mother who is going through abuse herself, trying to survive herself, that this is what also your husband's brother is doing to me?
And at that time, had your mother shared with you that you were a product of a rape?
No, I didn't learn that until I want to say, I had both kids, so I just want to be correct. I think I was 34 years old.
Wow.
It was after my father passed. Matter of fact, after my real father that raped. Let me go backstory. They were friends. They knew each other for most of their life. They were high school friends. He might have had a crush on my mother, but they were walking. She says they were walking home or walking to school, and he said he forgot something at the house. Everything told her not to go, and she went anyway. And that's what happened to her. And I know who my father is. I was around him when I was a kid. I know exactly who he is, but I never knew that story. And talking to other family members on my dad's side, it's confirmed that, yeah, that's true.
Wow.
She was forced to stay with her abuser because back then you didn't get pregnant and you weren't married.
So she married your father?
She said she refused to marry him, but she got put out of her home. So where was she going to go pregnant?
So she stayed with him for a
with
period of time. Isn't that really, just amazing, this cycle, as you say?
It's a cycle. It really is. When you think about it, I go, wow. So she suffered this abuse. She didn't follow her instincts. And then her oldest child, which is me, her firstborn, did the same thing.
Do you think it would have changed anything for you if you'd known this when you were going through the rape as well with the uncle? If you had known that you were a product of rape and had that discussion with your mum?
No. No. I just think that she didn't know how to handle it herself. When my father died, I believe that's when she was able to release it. Because I remember we were sitting down having coffee together, which we do a lot, and I visited her. It was late at night. My father had passed, and she said, she just broke down and started crying. I was like, what's wrong? Like, Mom, what's the matter? And she goes, I want to apologize for everything. I was like I'm a different type of breed. I was like, oh, please. I was like, I love you, and you were young. She was a young mother, and I said, and there's no book that comes with being a parent, and maybe you were searching for things that you didn't have yourself. So I said, I forgave you a long time ago. She says, no, I need you to forgive me because I haven't told you that, you are a product of rape, that your real father raped me. That's how you came apart. And I go, well, I'm grateful that you told me because it connects the dots for me. Because I did get treated a little different. So I always said, now I know why. Because I was a constant reminder of what that man did to you. Because she was a virgin. She was going into the service, and that's how she found out she was pregnant. So I basically took her dreams away. Could you imagine? Like, you set your life to go do this, this, and that. Yeah. You find out you're pregnant, and you know you've been raped, and you live in that traditional household. How do you tell your parents?
And has it healed your relationship between the two of you?
Absolutely.
Being able to be honest?
Absolutely. This is what I told her, because I'm silly too. So I said, well, aren't you happy that... I said, no, this is what I asked her. I said, well, why didn't you... I know people may disagree with abortions, but I said, why didn't you abort me? Why would you go? I don't think that I would be that strong. And she says, that's something that never crossed my mind to do. I said, well, that's a good thing. Don't you think you have a fabulous daughter anyway?
Totally.
Right? I was like, yeah. I said, I'm like the best thing that happened. And it made her laugh. Yeah. She wiped a tear. She says, you don't hate me? I said, please, never. You are my mother. Yeah. And you did the best that you could do with what you had.
And it could have been you. I think you understand better than anyone what she went through. Because you could have been pregnant from your rapist and gone through.
I'll be honest. I know people are not going to like what I wouldn't have had it. I'm not that strong. I'll be honest with you. That's something that I could not had. I don't think I had the strength. I could not do that. And I think God knew that. And so I was blessed not to have that decision, because I'm not someone that would want to give up a child. I don't think I could ever handle that. So it shows that she has a strength that I don't have, and I love her for that. I go, that you have a strength that I don't have, but I'm learning, and I broke the cycle. So I refuse to be with an abusive man. I pay attention to the signs now. I waited to have my children when I got married. And I'm telling you, people probably never thought that would be the case. Because I'll be honest, when you're raped, you're promiscuous.
Yes.
And I was. I figured that's what men want. I'm going to go ahead and give it to them right now so we can just go ahead and be done with the games.
So this is in your...
my late teens.
1920s.
Yes, I was horrible. So horrible. I didn't even know my self-worth.
Everyone's going, that's all men.
Anybody I date, not everyone, but a lot. Yeah. And I didn't know, because I didn't love me. Honestly, it was...
And was it to get attention? Was it to feel good? Was it because you thought that's what love was?
I didn't even know what love was. I just felt that that's what men do.
But why not go the other way and not have sex at all?
Because I had no man to show me anything different. Mind you, my stepfather was there, but they were divorced. So there was no man in the house to show me anything different at all. My real father, yes, I know him. But he was remarried with someone else, and up until, because I haven't. This is the weird thing. I always said something must happen to me when I was younger, because I don't have no memory after 8. I can't tell you what happened to me 8 and under, but what I can tell you is seeing my father up until I was about 10, living in the States before he decided to move out of the States. We always stayed in contact. But
so you think there may have even been an early abuse?
I do. I just, because I have no memory.
Blocked it out.
Yeah, and I don't know why. And the reason why I say that is my kids ask me questions, and I go, I could not tell you. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, that is quite a common thing. So I'm really fascinated by this idea of listening to your intuition and what you were saying, because I get that some people will find that unusual for you to say, that you take some responsibility and ownership. But I understand what you're saying there.
Absolutely.
Because I was speaking to someone yesterday who had a similar experience, that she was drunk and she was at a fraternity party, and so she felt like she had made a poor choice that put her in a bad situation. And so I think that even though some may not understand it, I think there's certain people who are going to be listening that need to hear that, because they're not forgiving themselves.
Oh, totally, you have to forgive yourself. I'm not saying that I take responsibility, because you have to take responsibility for the things that you create. Sometimes we create our own hell. It's the truth. It's hurtful truth, but it's the truth. And I created that. But I don't take responsibility for what the person did to me. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I take responsibility. When I look back, I say, damn, Haneef, why didn't you say anything? You knew that everything in me, Kirsty told me this man meant me no good. I'm talking about the step uncle.
Yes.
And I ignored it.
Well, and I heard someone say that the betrayal of yourself is the worst betrayal you can go through.
It's the worst. And because we allow, when that happens to you, then you're searching for yourself, you lose a part of your core spirit self. It just dies. And it takes so much work to get it back. It takes a lot. It's a long journey, especially if you do not take on the responsibility of what role did you play, if any.
Yeah.
Because you may not have played
any.
That's right. But if any, and really dig deep down inside to figure that out. And for me, I played a role in it. My mother wasn't someone I couldn't talk to. Why I didn't tell her? I don't know. She's always been someone that we can come and talk to. And just...
But it's acknowledging all that gives you the freedom, because otherwise you stay locked in it all.
I did for a while. I resented my mother. I didn't understand a lot of things, and this is what I said to myself. And I know people, I want them to be free from doing that. I forgave her, but also I forgave her for myself. But I forgave my mom because I realized that she is human. And who knows what hell she had to go through. See, I wasn't in that predicament where I was pregnant, had to go live with my abuser and then be out in the streets. She was only 19, and to figure out her life after that, because she went to college, she was ready for the service. Well, all that was destroyed. So, do I hate her forever? Do I stay angry with her forever? Because if I told you her history, when I dig deep down in her history, she was an abused child. That's what I mean by I stopped the cycle.
Yeah.
My children are loved 199%.
You have to stop. Incredible.
It. Yeah.
So you talked just a minute ago about how long it took you to get it back. What do you think in general was taken from you when the rapes occurred?
My self-esteem, my self-respect, and knowledge of myself. Because I spent so much time in my tragedy that I didn't take time to learn out who I was.
You were in those formative years. And I think for anyone who's in that place now, is there anything that you needed to hear or know back then that would have changed things?
Yes, I needed someone to step up. Someone did later, but someone to step up to tell me this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. Someone to step up and say, but you are beautiful and you are loved. And this is wrong. I think even our own circles of family and friends even the adults don't say anything. When we come across that uncle, this is my history because I'm 41, that we all know that it's weird, or the uncle that the parents don't want you around type thing. Unacceptable. What I learned, what I take away from that all is secrets are not healthy. And secrets should not be kept. They don't do anything but destroy families, and that's it. And you have to be able to tell your truth. Yes, it took my mom a very long time. I mean, I was 30-something years old before she told her truth. But secrets, who did it benefit?
So what do you do now? Because you have 2 young boys.
Oh, girl, I tell everything.
What do you do with the weird uncle? Like if there's people around?
I'm going to tell you right now, we have one. Okay, so I'll be honest.
Yeah.
My husband has one that I don't care what anybody tells me.
Your skin crawls.
Like it's the weirdest gut It's beyond good. And it's before I had my kids. It's when we first got married. And the first thing I said to my husband, I'll be honest, he introduced me to the uncle. The uncle gave me a hug. I won't mention names out of respect for my husband, but the uncle gave me a hug. I turned around, looked at my husband. I said, I don't want him ever around me. If we ever have kids, he can't be around my children, and I don't want him at my house. I don't. To this day, he may have never surfaced and showed anything, but he's never allowed around me. And I know they have family functions. I said, that's fine. We're at a big family function. I speak, but I keep my distance, and so do my children. And I don't waver from that. And that's what people do, is they waver from that. And that was my biggest lesson, is my gut is my truth. That's my God telling me, something's not right about that person. But you know, the weird thing is, someone that's been abused can see it, can smell it on someone else, on a person. I can see it no matter where I go.
And I think, I mean, you're 41 now, you were saying, and our intuition, I mean, I know for me, I'm 38 this year, gets stronger and stronger every year as you listen to it and you check in with it and you start to trust it.
Yes.
You know, I remember dating someone who lied to me. They were actually an alcoholic, I found out later. And, you know, they literally tried to tell me, you know, that it wasn't true. And then when I found out, I'm like, why? You knew this. And instantly I severed all ties, because there was, for me, that was the worst breach of my trust, to try and convince me that I was crazy. And so, you know, from that point forward, I really started to listen to my inner knowing.
Good for you.
But I think that that's a powerful lesson for everyone, because it's a weird thing, intuition. In the beginning, it is this, you know, hair on the back of your neck, or a creepy feeling. And I think when you're younger, you don't really know what it is.
Because we're not taught to learn we're not taught to tap into that.
Yeah.
I teach my sons now. One is 9, one is 11. If it doesn't feel right, it isn't right.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
a beautiful thing to teach a child.
I will not second guess you.
Yeah.
I will have your back. I may not see what you're seeing, but I'm not going to tell you what you're feeling is wrong. And a lot of times, you know, women get told, "Oh, you're tripping. Yeah. Oh, honey, that's not true. Oh, he's so nice."
Yeah.
And that so nice person is the most craziest person in the world.
Hi guys, it's Kirsty here from Kirsty TV. I'm sorry to interrupt the end of this interview, but it appears as though something happened to the audio, some kind of glitch, and we actually lost the end of the interview there. So I'm sure you found Haneef's story as profound as I did. We're actually going to be doing a Google Hangout where you'll be able to see her on video, and it will be on our YouTube channel under our Google Hangout playlist. So please feel free to check out the continued conversation with her there. I'm sure for anybody out there who's suffering through abuse or has a child or a loved one who's been through it, that you've found her story incredibly helpful. She is just an inspiration in how courageous she's been to be able to move forward. And that's what I want to talk to her a little bit more about in the second conversation we have, the tips and strategies and tools she's found useful in being able to move forward and have a healthy sexual relationship with her husband and be able to live fully in every way and not allow this to continually affect her life. So thanks so much for listening. I look forward to seeing you soon. Don't forget to tweet us, Facebook us, join the conversation, post your comments, and send in any questions that you have so that we can ask them during the Google Hangout. I'm sure Haneef will love that. I'll see you soon. Thanks.